Council Resolution 132, 2019, pursuant to Title V, Subtitle 3 of the Education Article, approving the Howard County Board of Education's capital budget request for fiscal year 2021 and capital improvement program requests for fiscal years 2022 through 2026 for purposes of submitting to the Interagency Commission on School Construction.
Good evening. My name is Dan Lubley. I'm the Acting Director of Capital Planning and Construction. Before you for public hearing is CR 132, 2019. The Board of Education's proposed FY 2021 capital budget, FY 2022 through 2026 capital improvement program, FY 2021 through 2026 long-range systemic renovation projects, and FY 2021 through 2030 long-range master plan. I am here to give a brief overview of the proposal, highlighting several board amendments to the superintendent's proposed budget. The superintendent presented his budget to the board on September 10th, and the board amended the proposed budget on September 19th. The board proposed budget for FY 2021 totals $99.101 million, and the total FY 2022 to 2026 CIP request is $408.827 million. The FY 2021 through 2026 long-range systemic master plan is a total of $145.383 million, and the FY 2021 through 2030 long-range master plan is $781 million. The FY 2021 board proposed budget addition to the superintendent's proposed budget includes $15.129 million for the Talbot Springs Elementary School Replacement Project and $27.955 million for the Hammond High School Renovation Addition Project. The FY 2021 through 2026 capital improvement program includes budget requests that support construction of the new High School 13 scheduled for opening in September of 2023. Construction of the Talbot Springs Replacement School scheduled for opening in September 2022. Construction of the Hammond High School Renovation Addition scheduled for final completion in September 2023, as well as planning and construction for the new elementary school number 43 scheduled to open in September 2027. Planning and construction of Dunlongan Middle School Renovation and Addition scheduled to open in September of 2028. Relocatable classrooms, site acquisition and technology, multiple systemic renovations and modernizations, including HVACs, projects, roofs, exterior windows, and emergency reserve funding. Thank you for your time. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Dr. Jones?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
I understood everything here with the exception of the acronym CD and DD to the boards, the first three bullets.
Sure. CD references construction documents. It's the third phase of the three design phases, and
Okay.
DD is the second, which is design development.
Got it. So CD is the third and final, you said? Just a third.
It's the third. There's three. It starts with SD, which is schematic design.
Okay.
The second is design development, which is the DD.
Okay.
And CD is construction documents, which is the third. And that is the final design phase before it goes into bidding and construction.
Okay, so for construction of Talbot Springs, looks like the third phase is going to be due on November 7th, and for Hammond High School, the second document is going to be due on November 21st.
Actually, the other way around. The DD for Talbot is on November 7th.
Okay, DD is number 2. You did say that. Okay,
Correct,
CD
yes.
is number
And
3.
then CD
I'll get it
for
straight.
Hammonds would be on November 21st.
Got it.
A lot of acronyms.
Yes, appreciate it.
I have a number of questions regarding the line item Ascend 1 relocation renovations for $3 million, which I assume is for the reconstruction costs of the top floor of the Ascend building, where the school district is planning to relocate members of the school district staff who are now using the Cedar Lane School. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I am also looking at administration office, and that's another $4 million. Do you know what that's for?
Yes, ma'am. The administrative office, that is the central office for the Board of Education. It is for the maintenance and upkeep of that facility.
So 4 million in 2022, 5 million in 2023, 3 million in 2024.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the 3 million for the Ascend One building, is that per an assigned agreement that the school district has with the county?
That is our current estimate for the work of adding the stair towers and the renovation of the second floor. I'd have to get back to you on further information. Mr. Bruce Gist is doing more of the negotiations with the county on that.
I would like to see all documents that are associated with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Any emails, any signed agreements, anything that you have that is associated with that Ascend One move from the Cedar Lane School.
Okay.
All right. And I guess I should also add anything that is related to an agreement that the school district has regarding the giving over of its land to the county to put a fire station in the Harper's Choice Middle School field.
Understood.
And I would like that before October 30th, when the next meeting will take place regarding the Harper's Choice Middle School field firehouse.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Youngman?
Dan, you touched on this a little bit, but I had a couple people that actually follow this pretty closely say, hey, gosh, why are you guys approving a capital budget now? Can you kind of help people that might be listening
Certainly.
understand, like, where this is in that process?
Absolutely. This is one of the first steps in the capital improvement program process. Due to state regulations and deadlines, the school system has to submit to the state our state CIP. And as part of that state CIP, we have to have the county's assurance that the projects that are being put forth have been looked at, reviewed, and approved. So this is one of the steps in us bringing forth to you guys, the county, for your agreement on our CIP so that it can be submitted to and reviewed by the state.
And it's the first step that it goes to them, then they respond to us, then the superintendent does their, next fiscal year capital budget, that goes to the county executive, then it comes to us.
Yes,
This
sir.
is the first step in that whole process.
Absolutely, it is a long process, yes, and it culminates next spring.
Right. When we all come back to have some fun in here.
Ms. Walsh?
Mr. Lubley, what are the constraints that cause the school system and then the board to say these are the 5 projects that we commit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 projects that we commit to build to the state between now and 2030?
The way we go through and take a look at our projects is based on the age of the facilities, the need for capacity throughout our school system. It's the state eligibility of the individual facilities. And we've gone through and looking at Talbot Springs, New High School 13, and Hammond High School. Those have always been this board's top priorities, moving them forward. And looking at the feasibility study that was put out by the Office of School Planning, we show that we do have a need at the middle school level, which is why we're adding capacity to Dunlogan Middle School and capacity need at the elementary school level, which is why we're taking a look at elementary school number 43.
Maybe Mr. Youngman, 43 is which elementary school?
Right now, new elementary school 43 is slated for the Mission Road site.
Much to the chagrin of the District 5 council member.
And District 1. 44 is then?
That would be Turf Valley.
I believe that is Turf Valley area.
But you mentioned need for capacity as being one of the criteria that you consider.
Yes, ma'am.
There is no reasonable claim that these 7 projects will meet the projected need for capacity of our school system between now and 2030.
Each of these projects are a cog in the wheel. None of these projects will alone solve the capacity needs, but they are on part of the larger plan. As you're all aware, we are currently going through our redistricting process with the Board of Education, which is another one of the pieces of that puzzle. But each of these projects with the capacity that they would add are one of the small pieces of that entire puzzle.
Okay, but these pieces, these 7 pieces, these 7 cogs, whatever you want to call them, plus redistricting, again, there is no reasonable claim that redistricting plus these 7 projects completed by fiscal year 2030 will meet the projected needs of our Howard County Public School System in that same time frame.
I would have to do a little more research with the Office of School Planning to define a little more in depth the specific areas of these. But again, alone, they will not solve the entire capacity need.
Okay, the point I'm trying to make, Mr. Lubley, is the school system imposing a dollar limit? Is there a we can only build X number of schools in a certain amount of time? Because I will say to you, there is no reasonable claim that these plus whatever tools you have, whatever you call trailers, all of that put together, I think the testimony before this council and other agencies of this county all uniformly agree that that is not enough to meet the projected capacity. And so I wonder then, knowing that that's the case, what is the limitation that the school system and the Board of Education is placing on a long-range master plan like this to say, these are the 7 that we elect to go forward, but we're going to draw the line at 7 and not 8. We're not going to ask for a commitment to build 10 or whatever it is. 7 plus redistricting plus relocatables plus jumpstart programs plus whatever other tools you have is not going to meet that capacity. So I'm trying to understand why this line is drawn where it is in this long-range master plan.
A large function of that is the available funding. While one of the criteria for defining what projects will go forward as a priority is state eligibility, it is a requirement with the state that there is a local match. So in looking at the funding, we try and determine what is our opportunity to garner as much state funding as possible while still looking at the potential for the local dollars of what we're going to actually be able to afford. So funding is a large piece of that puzzle as well, as far as limiting the quantity of projects that we can put forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I follow up on one of those on that question? If we get through what everybody knows we're working on, which is the impact fees, and that does result in some additional borrowing capacity, then the CI, the 10-year CI plan next year could have more than those 7 projects on it. Like this isn't the last opportunity to ask for these, is it?
No, sir. With the feasibility study, we do go through and we reevaluate what our needs are every year. And as I stated, funding being a big part of that puzzle, if there is additional funding available, then we would take that into account and ask for additional projects.
What's the downside to asking for more than we might know that we can match today? Just to get it on their radar screen and kind of get it in our system.
With regards to the state?
Yeah, this piece of this process.
With regards to the state, we can ask them for basically for planning, but again, as part of the requirements, it requires the local assurance that each of the projects have been viewed as necessary and that there will be the local dollar match that goes along with each of those.
So is it like a credibility issue that if
There potentially
you
could
really
be a
didn't have
perception issue, yes.
Okay, you didn't have a high level of confidence that the money would be there for, let's say, the 8th, 9th, and 10th project, but just put it on there anyway. no like rule or law against it, it's just.
No, there's not a rule or law against it, correct?
Okay.
Well, and especially if we're pursuing additional impact fees, looking at other options like transfer and recordation.
Yeah.
I mean, my question was relatively simple within your long-range systemic renovations. I just wanted to know if I could get more information on the last time Guilford Elementary had their windows and doors replaced. I'm looking through every inch of the capital budget, trying to find funds for Hammond High, so I will gladly look at Ascend One relocation renovations. We can bring them on over to Hammond High. But I had received a concern from a constituent that they, in their recollection, that the windows had been replaced recently, and so I just wanted to be able to follow up with more information for them.
Sure, I don't have that information off the top of my head, but I can definitely get it to you.
I would be impressed and slightly alarmed if you had that very specific note inside your mind. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Sorry, we have Larry Corsa. Mr. Larry Corsa. All right. Bernard Knoppinger.
Good evening again. Bernard Jane. I apologize to all the people who have left because I did not state where I live so that they could come to my house and we could discuss these problems. Anyway, my name is Bernard Jane Oppinger, 8638 North Bowie Court, Ellicott City, Maryland, 21043. A little bit of humor there, right? So, I'm impressed with the fact that someone can come with pie in the sky, and this is what we're going to need. And the other thing is, we were going to throw it on your back that you have to legislate this or approve it because the state says it. Excuse me, we have a local board of education governed by the Howard County, not by the state of Maryland. We come under them, but they cannot dictate to us what we do in our school system. Now, under that assumption, why would we want to? You were in office for 4 years. You may not be elected again. Would you like to be the council that's approved these numbers, not knowing what your actual numbers are going to be in 2020, 2030, excuse me? What I'm trying to say is, the fact is, we do not know by the next election, 2020, or the next election, 2024, what the government, our government may do as far as shifting all the people that live in this county or in the suburbs of around this county that are government workers. If they take and pull all the, say they pull 4 or 5 agencies out of this area, what happens to our income? What happens to our need to have all these schools built? We know as a fact that every year the government's always looking to move things. We see it in the papers every day. So you have to take into consideration the fact that, can I really expeditiously push this forward and say, oh, this is what we're going to do, and put it on the back of the people that don't want to pay the taxes? I think you need to look at the fact that you can't go too far into the future, because I live day to day. In 2030, I won't be here probably. So you'll have a break at that time. You won't have to listen to me. Anyway, truthfully, think about the cost of things before you go and putting this money on the backs of the people. I understand we need schools, but we always have more influx of students coming in, and a lot of them are coming from places, and they cannot afford the housings. So we have the problem with the housing, which we have let go for years, and you cannot have people coming in, and then you do not want to have people homeless in the county. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Brent Lovelace?
Good evening. My name's Brent Lovelace. I'm the president of the PTA Council of Howard County, representing 74 schools across the county. We have discussed a position that we have stated, which was open-ended earlier, where unanimously all the representatives of the schools across the county supported not just school surcharges, but appropriate rates being charged so that we could fund our capital budget. If you look at this budget right here, everyone is very concerned about what is going on with Hammond High, Talbot Springs, and quite honestly, many other things. I'm personally very concerned with 200-plus trailers in the school system that need to be removed. The language of this says, actual appropriation of county funds will occur as requested by the county executive and concurred by the county council in the annual budget and appropriations ordinance. And I think we discussed that earlier, and it's very clear that this is a necessary step to go through the school construction process with the state. There's no opposition whatsoever in it. It's just there is uncertainty, and I think the general public needs to know there's much uncertainty about what will occur between now and the capital budget time. This is not a done deal. If you flip to your pages in the back of the bill, if you have it available, you see the long-range master plan. As you know, replacing an existing school doesn't add seats, it gives you the same amount. Maybe if you build it bigger, like Talbot Springs, they're anticipating an extra 160 seats. But if you just run down through the spreadsheet there, you're looking at 3,776 seats in roughly a decade. That does not include High School 14, which is notional on here. There's no date on it. But if we add that in and give them the benefit of the doubt, that's still only 4,434 new seats going to Howard County. That means if our enrollment is 540 additional kids a year, we got everything covered. Now, what do you think the average has been for year after year after year in Howard County? It's been anywhere from 800 to 1,000 and up. It varies quite a bit, but roughly double of what we're building currently. And I think that goes to Ms. Walsh's questions that occurred before. Are we building enough? No. It is great that they're providing brand new facilities for our children. We're strongly supportive of them. But as long as trends continue at the rate they are, we are providing roughly half of what we need, which is why we see $1.77 million perpetually added to the school system for trailers. And we are very concerned, the PTA is very concerned, the members, the general community. I think all of you can agree why we're concerned about that. We have an opportunity to make some adjustments here soon. The math needs to work, and quite frankly, the math in our surcharge bill that's pending looks at the capital budget as its basis, assuming the capital budget fulfills all our needs. You can see it fills only half of our needs. And I'm not even going to get into methodology on sales, new versus resales. There is a lot that we need to discuss publicly about that and its definitions. But I am going to say, looking at this from our point of view with publicly available information, that we have a problem coming. And it's a long time coming, and it'll take a lot to resolve. And I think we need to look beyond this necessary step here and into the systemic thing. This goes much farther than the efficient allocation of children across the few available seats that we have. This is a very big issue that we need to resolve, and I hope the history of looking toward higher student-teacher ratios, more trailers, decreases in quality, or very wild scenarios to adjust for these things are not the go-to solution to make up for this difference. Any questions?
Mr. Youngman?
You had talked about what the previous average sort of new students were each year, the enrollment growth each year.
Roughly 800 to 1,000, based on at least the website that the school site provides.
And I think we've all seen those numbers are right, but that's a pre-APFO world. So what is it, do you know what it looks like post-APFO?
Pre-APFO and post-APFO.
Post-APFO and post-redistricting.
I'm
which
not
I
a
know are
big
two
fan
different-
of that term because we've had APFO since 1990. What we have done is adjust certain thresholds.
Right.
Those thresholds allow overcrowding of up to 105% in elementary, 110 in middle, 115 in high schools. The redistricting process, as you see it right now, is going to drop many schools below those thresholds where APFO effectively is not creating the pauses, not stoppage of development, the pauses of development temporarily. And the more frequent we redistrict and the more frequent we move things in and out of areas, these are ratcheting mechanisms. All you have to do is pass the threshold once and you get to move ahead. So if you have capacity here, you move people over here, move them here again, you can actually create an artificial situation where you allow things to proceed even faster than design.
Has PTAC seen, I mean, I don't think we have. It's one of the things that I think we've been asking for. You know, with the current 10-year growth is, let's say it's an APFO without redistricting, and then what after redistricting, which you're right, that's going to open a lot more schools, so you're probably going to end up somewhere in the middle. PTAC hasn't seen that either.
Well, we sponsored last January a thing with the delegation where they brought up the red charts and brought up the APFO reports and showed the, for the lack of better words, doom and gloom, everything's going to be closed scenario, along with the fiscal analysis that straight-lined assumed there would be no redistricting and worst-case scenarios. As you know, as you redistrict below these thresholds, growth will continue to
Right.
move forward. Exemptions, we got a lot of moderate income housing and exemptions of that sort that have been added to the APFO code. Those also will allow additional movement in the market. And I'm blanking on the last one, but we are not going to see a massive shutdown of the county unless we abandon things like redistricting altogether.
Right.
I can see it affect it in certain hot areas or spot markets or particular projects, but overall across the county, the post-APFO world is not going to cut development by 80%, like some of the projections that we've seen.
Yeah, but it probably would have cut it by, 20 or 30%, and now that we're redistricting, I'm not sure that we're not back up to that same 900 or 1,000 growth per year versus the 500. So we can go back and forth. I think that the big answer is we don't know. So
even with
it's-
that, what we've been advocating for since day one is the word enough. Not more, not less. If our fees and rates are set correctly, that they provide enough capacity as we move forward, it really doesn't matter what the rate is. We're able to accommodate it, and all
Right.
children can be in permanent, and that's an important word, permanent facilities while they're being educated. We still have the backlog of past underfunding to deal with as well. I get that.
Right.
But going forward, we want to make sure there is no harm, and we're at least holding with the tools that we have available that have been enabled to us by the state delegation.
And we
thank
hopefully
them.
catch up. So
Thank you.
Joel Hurwitz?
Joel Hurwitz again, Columbia. Continue the discussion about the Send One renovations. After looking at the Interagency Commission's regulations and calling them, they don't care about capital projects that don't provide seats for students. So I'm going to urge you to decline to support that. If you see the projects now for 2024, if you look at CR 138 from last year, it was listed in fiscal 20. In a letter of intent I have from September 2015, the proposal was to have a 15-year lease beginning at the end of 2016. It is unclear to me why DPW has this space apparently permanently vacant for 8-9 whole decade, and is not using it for another department while we go lease space all over the county. I'm also not clear why it's even a school expense to start with, since it's really a county project to take control of the Cedar Lane, old Cedar Lane site. Talking to council staff, it's still unclear exactly where the proposal at the community meeting on October 30th for the fire station will be, and I've heard it might be actually at the site of the Old Cedar Lane School, which can't go there until the Send One is done, which again also includes, the prior person said, fire exit, which again, why is the school system renovating and putting capital improvements into the county building? But you can't move there until it's done, and you can't renovate Banneker until you have a fire station. So you have all these continuing things that, have been, as I said, have been going on since apparently 2015, 2014. So there are a lot of unanswered questions, and also regarding the administrative office renovations, is that going to include replacing the trailers at there before the student trailers are replaced? So again, I would urge you to withhold your support for those capital projects that do not provide capacity for the students in the county.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hurwitz.